It's cute that y'all think you're the heroes of this little adventure, but you're not. Welcome to Pandora, kiddos.
I've mentioned before in previous videos that one of my favorite genres is post-apocalyptic shooters, specifically first-person shooters, so it makes sense that Borderlands is high up on my favorite game / game series of all time. While it's also one of the greatest game series ever made, it's important that people who have never played or are looking to play, or people who just want to hear someone brag about one of the greatest games ever, to understand what makes it one of the greatest games of all time. Let's start with Gearbox. Gearbox is the development team behind the game, established in 1999 by developers from companies such as 3D Realms and Bethesda Softworks, Randy Pitchford being the CEO. They originally started off making expansion games for games like Half-Life. Eventually, they launched their first actual independent game in 2005 called Brothers in Arms. But let's skip all the boring stuff and fast forward to 2009. Their second original release games was a huge success in Divine the Shooter Looter genre that we all love and know today. It was a first-person shooter RPG set in an open world. It was so unique as there weren't really any shooters at this point that really offered RPG elements quite like this. The player took the role of one of 4 characters, each with their own special abilities and unique skills. Now here's where I'm going to talk about the series as a whole, just to save time on the video. One of the greatest things about the Borderlands series is all the many different rewards and bonuses you can get in the game. Like I mentioned, first you have 4 characters to choose from, not including the DLC characters. Each is very unique in their own way, offering the player to fill the role of a commando character, a siren who wields magical-like abilities, an assassin character who specializes in quick melee combat and sniping, and of course the Gunzerker character, who can wield 2 heavy guns and go ballistic on enemies. The characters in the pre-sequel are a little different, offering a gladiator / assassin, an enforcer who specializes in cybernetics, a lawbringer who dual wields pistols, and of course the beloved Claptrap. Each character has their own unique skills where every time you level up you can allocate points accordingly. Now this doesn't sound much different than other RPGs, but in fact it is. There are so many different skills and abilities, and most of them can be stacked so many times, offering such a range of different playstyles. And of course, as I mentioned before, there's not a lot of RPG shooters, so the fact that Gearbox was able to create 3 different skill trees with so many different unique skills and so many different factors to each skill, it's quite impressive. For example, Zero, the assassin from Borderlands 2, has a skill where each successful ranged or melee attack gives you a plus 2% gun damage and plus 1.8% melee damage per level for a short period of time. This bonus can stack up to 5 times. Faster weapons can gain stacks more quickly, but slower weapons retain stacks for a longer period of time. That's quite a detailed skill. And then on top of that, you can level the skill up several times, each time raising the bonuses. And there are at least 10 skills per skill tree with different bonuses like this per character. So when you're attacking enemies, depending on your character build, the weapons you are using, the equipment you have slotted, and critical hits and various elemental damages you can use, the shields you have equipped, there's just a lot of background and coding that we don't typically think of as players. It really is impressive. Then of course there's the weapons. One of the things Borderlands is most famously recognized for is the insane number of weapons you can loot. There's 8 levels of rarity when it comes to weapons, being white for common, green for unknown, blue for rare, purple for very rare, and orange for legendary, and pearlescent, which is the highest tier of all. Almost every gun you find is unique in its own way, each with various attachments that give the weapon either elemental damage or other bonuses. There are 4 elemental damage properties: fire, electric or shock, explosive, and corrosive, each of which are used for different tactics against enemies. For example, fire is effective against unshielded flesh, shock is effective against shields, explosive is, well, explosive and offers a high chance of critical hits, and corrosive is effective against armored enemies such as robots and vehicles. On top of this, there's your basic weapon stats like damage, accuracy, fire rate, weapon reload, magazine size, etc. Some guns shoot multiple rounds of ammunition per shot, some have damage multipliers, some have scopes allowing for a zoom multiplier, some grant bonuses or reduce the typical weapon stats like accuracy or weapon reloads, and so on. Taking all of this into account as well as the character stats, there's so many possibilities when it comes to damage and straight up survival. And we haven't even talked about shields yet. Shields allow the player to absorb so much damage before their health begins to deplete. But same thing goes for shields. There's the same tiers of rarity and each has their own properties. Some sacrifice health for more shield, some cause elemental damage to melee attackers, some explode upon depletion, and so much more. There's relics, which are equipable and offer various bonuses, artifacts, and grenades, which can also come in many different levels of rarity with their own bonuses. Then of course there's different skins you can get for your character and vehicle. You have a ton of different achievements that grant you badass rank, which allow you to increase certain stats on your character, and then there's golden keys that you can gain to access rare items. I could go on about all this, but I think you get the point. Let's move on to the universe that is the Borderlands. So the Borderlands games up to this point have taken place in fictional worlds, and I'm sure they always will. This allows for the developers to create whatever kind of creatures, abilities, environments, rules, and properties that they want, which is very important. First of all, baddies, or bad guys, play a big part of what kind and how much and how rare the loot is that you find. The lower the level, the less rare the item drops. So within the Borderlands universe, there are many types of different bad guys, including creatures like skags, racks, or however you pronounce it, spider ants, craw maggots, and more. Human enemies, mostly bandits, guardians, robots, and other various machines and more. Now, that don't sound like much, but here's the thing. There are also tiers of enemies within each group or category. So the bandits, for example, range from ordinary cycles to marauders, nomads, bruisers, midgets, flaming midgets, Goliaths. I mean, the list goes on, and that goes for each category of enemy as well. Then there's the bosses. Probably the most frustrating, yet satisfying and enjoyable part of shooting and looting are the bosses. There's no feeling quite like taking on a boss, dying, coming back, shooting the crap out of it, dying, and coming back again and again until finally its health hits 0 and green, purple, and orange loot explodes out of them, all yours for the taking. Unless, of course, you're playing with friends. Oh, did I mention the game is co-op? That's right. From the very get-go, you get to play with up to 3 friends, which makes the game all the more enjoyable. But back to the universe. The storytelling is by far some of the greatest and most enjoyable of any game I've played. Borderlands is a series that doesn't take itself too serious.
Workshop, man. I got to be alone for this. I'm a little teapot, bloody and cut. Here is my handle, here is my butt. Whoops. Put a little bomb in the hot ass damn door, blow stuff up and make people die. Squishy. Squishy, squishy, squishy. Oh damn, you looking good, ladies. Let's get to work. That's right. Twin sisters, man. Oh.
There's so much great humor throughout it. It's a great breath of fresh air when most games out there include little humor, which is understandable as you want the game to be as immersive as possible, but in the Borderlands games, it's a perfect fit. From quirky little claptrap to the indifferent, cold-hearted, handsome Jack, there's never a dull moment and just so many great laughs. Borderlands is a game that offers infinite possibilities as well as infinite replayability. It is by far the greatest looter of all time and is up there with the greatest RPGs and shooters as well. It's no wonder it's such a beloved franchise, and it comes as no surprise that Borderlands 3 is one of the most highly anticipated games of 2019. Whether you're looking to purchase Borderlands 1, 2, the pre-sequel, or are debating on whether or not the hype for Borderlands 3 is really justified, believe me when I say indeed it is. The games are a must for any first-person RPG or shoot and loot fan. I love the game so much I own the Handsome Collection on both PC and PS4 and owned Borderlands 2 back when it was released for the PS3, and you bet I'm going to own Borderlands 3. But that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed, please let me know by commenting below, dropping a like and subscribe. All constructive criticism is greatly appreciated as I plan on releasing more gaming related videos in the future. That being said, recommendations are also greatly appreciated. But until next time, much love and peace.